Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining us. We're really appreciative of your time today, and we have another student that's joined. So to be respectful of time, I think we'll go ahead and get started, Katie, and then if other students join, then they can just come along throughout. So Milana, you've just joined us. Thank you so much for coming. If you want to go ahead and place in the Q&A some info about yourself, if you want to let us know which program you're thinking of attending, or if you have any questions for our panelists, please feel invited to do so. And Julia, same offer. I'll repeat it for you as well. So I'll just go ahead and hit record. And it's already recording, so we'll cut down this portion. And I will also turn on our captioning. So, and we'll go ahead and get started. Julia, it says you are at UC San Diego and you're going to Master Psychology program in the Netherlands. So fantastic. Thank you so much for letting us know which program you're interested in. And we'll get started. So thank you all so much for joining today. This is our panel entitled Connect with Recent UCEAP Returnees. And my name is Bryn Lemon. I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement and Scholarships for our system-wide office of UCEAP. And I've had the pleasure of speaking with several of our panelists today before as well, both as scholarship recipients or as applicants to our program. So it's lovely to meet them face to face. I am also an alumna of our programs. I studied abroad in Scotland in 2015, and I spent 2 years there, moving back there after graduation. And I love working for this program and helping facilitate conversations like these between alumni and students. So I'm excited to be here today. I will briefly have my colleague Elizabeth introduce herself. Elizabeth, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Holtz, and I am the Scholarship and Alumni Engagement Coordinator for UCAP. I am also an alumna of our program, so I studied abroad. I did two UCAP programs, so I studied abroad in London, England, as well as Córdoba, Spain. And I enjoyed it so much that now I am working for UCEAP and encourage all other students to study abroad if they have the opportunity to. So thank you for joining us today.
Fantastic. And Katie, my co-host, I'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself now.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Van Maywin. I'm an academic integration analyst at UCEAP. I'm also an alumna from 2009. I went to the Costa Rica Tropical Biology program, and I was an ecology major at UCSB. So really good to see you all. Looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Katie. Okay, Christy, you are unmuted, so I'll have you start with introducing yourself if you'd like, and you can popcorn to another panelist. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good. Hi, my name is Christy. I'm a current senior at UC San Diego. I studied abroad in Seoul, South Korea last year, my junior year fall quarter, and I studied abroad with the fall at UCEAP program. So it was an exchange program at UCEAP University. I had the best time, and I really wanted to come out here and kind of share my experience with anyone who had questions about my time in Korea. And so yes, I'm a business major, by the way. So I was a business major at Yonsei University as well. I'd like to popcorn Addie.
Hi, I'm Addie, and I did a program with UCEAP at the University of Barcelona in Spain, and I enjoyed it a lot, hoping to go back.
Okay, awesome. Addie, do you want to popcorn to another panelist?
Uh, yeah, Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a senior at UC Berkeley, majoring in Econ and Global Studies. I technically graduated last December to do my internship here. Studied up in DC. I studied abroad in Japan exactly a year ago, spring 2024. I went to a university called Hitotsubashi University in Tokyo, and it was a really fun time. I made great friends, and yeah, I hopefully I can go back to Japan, and like the UCAP program really helped out and even in networking with local Japanese workers there too. So it was a great time. And I hope I don't say your name incorrectly, but Saria,
Thank
yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Hi.
My name's Soraya. I am a senior at UC San Diego, and I'm a global health major and graduating this quarter. I just came back from a UCEAP program in London in the winter quarter, and last summer I went to South Africa and the summer global internship Cape Town. Both UCEAP experiences were amazing, eye-opening, and life-changing, and I'm super happy to be here.
Thank you so much to everyone for introducing yourselves and getting our students familiar with the panelists in attendance. So today we're going to just talk more broadly about your experiences abroad, answer some general kind of FAQs that students tend to have regarding experiences on UCEAP, and here are some anecdotal stories of your time abroad. There's really no goal for this session other than to really answer questions that students may have. So your personal experiences are what we want to hear, and we want to invite you to give your honest and complete answers to those questions. So things we'll talk about are, for example, like which program you chose, some general questions, some experiences that you had abroad, and things of that nature. So we will not be answering programmatic questions in the sense that we cannot necessarily give students information about specific housing or visa applications or things of that nature. Those questions should definitely be directed to your program advisor or other contacts that you have had at UCEAP, like an academic specialist. But we are here to just answer some broader questions. So I thought a nice one to start with would be, what motivated you to select the program that you chose? And I can start with a funny story, which is that I was going to study abroad in England, in London, and then I was working in a clothing shop, and a Scottish man in his 50s came in and was incredibly sassy to me for about 40 minutes, just absolutely going off about why I would possibly want to pick London over Scotland. And by the end of the conversation, I thought, yeah, I'll spend a year in Scotland, and I changed the course of my program. And I'm delighted that I did. I was really happy with the choice of Edinburgh, where I studied, and I was also drawn there for their literature program. It was a really wonderful university to study English literature. And so I leave the question up to all of our panelists. What motivated you to choose your program, and are you ultimately happy with the program you chose? I know a couple of us have done dual programs, but and maybe we start with our dual programmist. Sorry, do you want to start with that question?
Yes, happy to. Thank you. For me specifically, choosing Cape Town, South Africa, that was my first program. I know prior to going to that study abroad experience, I had always been in class, like shopping through the UCEAP website, and I found myself choosing between my top two choices, which were at the time a Ghana program, a South African program, because I knew I wanted to go to the continent of Africa. And specifically for the Cape Town global experience, that one was more fit for my major. As a global health major at UC San Diego, you have to get a field experience requirement. And to complete that field experience, you can either do it in San Diego or abroad. And I figured, why not do both things I'm interested in a new place? And once looking through the program, I spoke with advisors at UCSD to make sure that I was like on track to study at the specific time of summer and able to use it as a fulfillment for my requirement, and realized it like perfectly aligned. And I had always dreamt about South Africa. It always seemed like it was too far away, but through this program, it was the perfect opportunity. Was I happy about it? Extremely. I will be back in Cape Town. I made a lot of friends, and because I was working there, it was really great to just immerse myself in the work culture there, a completely different pace than California. And to this day, I'm still super grateful and really connected to the environment and the community there.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else want to answer this question?
I could chime in. I chose Korea because for background, I'm Korean American, and I've been born and raised in the US, but my parents have immigrated from Korea. And so I visited when I was very, very young, but I've always had so many questions about Korea. And I also had family members that lived in Korea that I just had no relationship with, because we just lived so far away, far apart. And I really wanted to come and see what it's like to live in Korea, to see where my parents are from, and to also build a relationship with some of my family members that I never had the chance to because of our very far distance. And so I think coming into college, I always knew I wanted to study abroad, and I just always knew it was going to be Korea. And I'm so glad and happy with my decision because I think I was able to rekindle a lot of relationships that I don't think I would have been able to if I didn't come here and live here during my study abroad time.
Thank you so much. Lauren or Addie, do you want to contribute?
Yes, I can say a little bit. I decided that I wanted to do study abroad from a very young age. Like I always knew I wanted to do it, and I've always been interested in traveling. So this was a perfect way to mesh both education and traveling. And also, I chose Spain because I wanted to go somewhere that was far away, but like I still understood the language. And I also chose Spain because I have family in Spain that I've never met before, and that was interesting. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, Lauren, do you want to wrap us up on this conversation?
Sure. I chose Japan. Kind of, there's like two reasons. I actually grew up very internationally. I was born in the States. I lived in California when I was young. I also lived in Korea. I also lived in Germany as well for partially. And then so I wanted to go to a place where that was like foreign enough, that some place I never lived before, but also that I was familiar enough that I can get around as a young woman in their 20s safely and independently, and that has also a place that has good food. And I think Japan came up the radar. And so I was planning to go to Japan, and I actually wanted to go to Waseda or Keio universities, which UCEAP also has the program with, but they only had a year program, and I could only go for a semester. So I ended up just going to Hitotsubashi, not knowing about the school background or anything else, but it turns out to be a really good program because the school itself is geared towards humanities majors, so they don't have any like STEM majors. And coming from a very STEM heavy UC Berkeley background and a very big institution, it was really nice to go to a smaller school with only like 2,000 undergrad students, and a school that's geared more towards humanities majors. So I got to have like personal relationships with my professors, which I really benefited a lot from. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful information. It was great to hear everyone's motivations and enthusiasm behind why they chose their programs. And in the meantime, we've had a couple of students join us. And so they did not receive our introduction. So Katie, I was just curious if we could put up that introductory slide just so that the students in attendance can see the programs that our panelists attended. That way, if they have questions, they can direct them to the Q&A. So for those students who did just join us, you can go ahead and type into the Q&A any questions you have for our returnees, and that will be really helpful. You can see on the screen here which has disappeared, which programs these panelists attended. So we have a student from Spain, Korea, Japan, and South Africa. And Soraya also attended a program in London. So if you have questions about any of those programs, please feel free to put them into the Q&A. But in the meantime, we'll facilitate discussions, but we would love to prioritize your questions if you have them. So a question that I think is wonderful, and we get such varied answers from all of our returnees, is just what advice would you give to either a younger version of yourself or a student who is about to depart on their program now that you have finished your program on UCEAP? And this will also, I would love to pop this to Katie and Elizabeth as well with, some insight and foresight deeper into your careers. Like, what advice would you give to yourself, a younger version of yourself, prior to starting UCEAP? And anyone who wants to start is welcome to unmute themselves and begin.
I can go ahead and get started with the question. I think something that I encourage all students who are considering studying abroad or about to depart to study abroad is to just take advantage of your study abroad experience and really think about what you want to get out of it. I think everyone's motivations for studying abroad are different, and that's fantastic. But the time when you study abroad goes by so fast. And so I would encourage you to really, yes, participate and make friends and connections and things like that, but really think about what you want out of study abroad, because you'll find that hopefully you really love your study abroad experience and you want to go back and you want to extend time. And like some of our panelists have mentioned, unfortunately, you only have a certain amount of time abroad. And so that is something I would really just say, think about your desires for studying abroad and what you want to get out of the experience.
I'll add to Elizabeth's response. Definitely, if I were to give advice to my younger self, it would be to go for longer or go to multiple programs. I really had this view of like, I was feeling a little risk averse and it felt like a big deal to study abroad. And so I chose a quarter program, and it truly was, like the cliche, very transformative and an amazing experience. And for me personally, I did have room in my academic career where I could have gone again. I just didn't think that that would be a possibility to do another program. So, yeah, go for longer or go to multiple programs.
Does anyone else have their advice planned out?
I guess I can go. I think having done some local research about the area you're going, maybe just knowing a few basic phrases goes a long way, and trying to immerse yourself once you're there as well, immerse yourself with the local community. I think a great thing that UCEAP does is that you do have that support system with a lot of different cohorts going with you from different UCs that you're familiar with. That's also a really good part of it, but also trying to step out of your comfort zone a bit and maybe make some local friends or go to local events and all. And I think if you have a decent amount, you don't even have to be fluent or have to read the language, but just having a decent background of the culture and the language itself did really go a long ways for me.
Addie or Christy? Yeah.
So I guess yep.
No, Addie, go ahead.
Okay. I guess I would say like don't be afraid to like step out of your comfort zone, because that's when you get to grow and learn about yourself. And also um yeah, I would say that.
Excellent.
I kind of want to add on to what Elizabeth said about really taking advantage of your time in the country that you're at, because time does fly so quickly. I can't believe, like, for me, 4.5 months just flew by at the blink of an eye. And something I wish I did was go with like a purpose. So I was kind of just like, oh, I'm gonna go to Korea. And so I kind of went and I was having the best time of my life, but I think I wish I like had a tangible goal. For example, like checking out all the art museums within the city that I was staying at, or going to at least 3 different hikes in the country that I'm staying at. I feel like these are things that I look back on that I wish I did, like have a tangible goal for myself, but instead I was kind of living in the moment, kind of trying to get by, trying to adjust. So definitely preparing for that before going on the trip, I think would be helpful.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of Christy, I highly recommend coming with an intention or purpose set. I can speak from experience. Before coming to Cape Town, I tried to do as much research as I could about languages, about the environment, about budgeting, and it felt really great to get there and like know everything I wanted to try, like hike Table Mountain or do this, because in both programs in Cape Town and in London, they were both 10 weeks, which is 3 months, and it goes super quick. So before going on your program, I recommend like creating a Google Doc and just Googling as much as you can about the environment you'll be in and like set out what you actually want to do. And I promise within the first 4 weeks, you and your new friends will find time to do it. In London, I had a lot of adventurous friends, and the next piece of advice I'd give myself or you is to say yes more than you say no. And that helps you branch out and get out and do new things beyond what you do by yourself, which allowed me to do a lot more traveling than expected. I met like a good group of like 3 to 4 friends that I was in program housing with. We traveled out of the country very often together. We found a lot of things to do. They're actually coming to visit me this weekend. So say yes more than you say no and get out of your comfort zone.
Thank you so much. Those are fantastic answers. And I saw several of our panelists nodding at others' responses. So clearly there's a lot of overlap in what we would advise. So we have a couple questions here that kind of relate to one another. So the first question is about how many people were in your cohort? And did you connect better with UC students in your cohort or with international students at the university you studied abroad at? So you can combine those questions by basically giving an overview of your cohort and then who did you connect with and how did you make those connections, I would say is probably a great thing to start with. Christy, do you want to start us?
Yeah, I was trying to look back and see how, like, kind of count how many people were in my cohort. I believe that our cohort is a pretty big one, the one at Yonsei University. It was over 100 for us, or around 100. It was a pretty big cohort of people. Um, and so for me, it was hard to get to know everyone, but I did stick closer to the UC people. I think naturally the culture in Korea is everyone kind of keeps to themselves a bit more. It was kind of harder to just introduce myself to the friends in my classes and just be like, hey, I'm an international student. I'd like to be friends with you or something. I think by nature, I just kind of drew more closer to other UC students in my classes just because we're able to kind of talk about where we're from, what you see, what requirement you're taking this class for. So yeah, that was kind of my experience with the Yonsei program.
Thank you so much. Anyone else have any thoughts on their cohort size, how they made friends, who they made friends?
Yeah, I can say something. I think the UC cohort at University of Barcelona was pretty big as well. But they had a program called Estudios Hispánicos, which is basically um all the international students would be in those classes. So it would be people from like the University of Texas at something or the University of Michigan. And so, I mean, it was easy to talk to them because we spoke the same language and we were having a lot of the same experiences. Um, but I did have one class that was like filled with local students, and it's easier to, I would say it's easier to put yourself out there when you know the language. Yeah.
That's a very fair point. Soraya, I know you went on two very different programs, like the cohorts are extremely different. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that and what you found to be more in keeping with what you wanted or what the difference allowed.
Yes, happy to. Thank you. When I went to my UCEAP Summer Global Internship Cape Town program, the cohort size was about 20 students. I was one of 3 UC students. So I was the only one from UC San Diego. There were 2 students from UC Berkeley, and the rest were students from Cal States or other schools all throughout the United States. When connecting with different students there, we're all very close in age, completely different majors. And because we were specifically going for internships, and it wasn't like a niche focused program like business and entrepreneurship, like the one in London, it was really cool to connect with different people. It was really, I can say the main thing that allowed us to connect better was group chats. Forming group chats with the people you're in cohorts with allows you to set plans together and also allows you guys to keep in contact after the program. I did that with our Cape Town program and in London, specifically for the business and entrepreneurship in London program. That was specifically only UC students. So I was one of 3 UCSD students, but the rest were from Berkeley, Irvine, Riverside, and other schools as well. We formed a GroupMe chat, and there was a specific like GroupMe chat of all of the cohorts, and then there was like the smaller group chats with like you and your 4 friends, you and your 6 friends. And when it came to traveling or finding places to eat together or inviting each other to different things, because that's how you get to know people outside of the classroom. And that also allows you to build stronger connections as well. I found it a lot easier to create those relationships online. And then also before the end of your program, I highly recommend get everyone's LinkedIns and get everyone's Instagrams as well, so you can stay connected.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And Lauren, I wonder if you have any concluding thoughts before we move on to the next.
Yeah, so our cohort at Hitotsubashi was I think like 40 students, but all across Tokyo, I knew we had like one orientation day and there were around I think 100-ish UCAP students, and among the UCAP students at our school, they were all UC students, so it was nice to have that close-knit community. Some few friends from UCLA and UCSD, we became really good friends. So I remember last semester when we all came back, we went to Westwood UCLA campus and just all got together, reunion, and that was super fun. About getting close to local students, our dorm at Hitotsubashi had like 50% local freshmen and sophomores, and then the rest 50% were other international students, while whether they were studying abroad there as an actual full-time student or an exchange student. So that was a really nice way. And the dorm had held a lot of social activities, which also helped with a lot. And I remember my friends who participated in sports clubs, even though they couldn't speak the language fluently, they were able to hang out with the friends there, the local students there. So I think if you do sports or any instruments, that is a good way to connect with them. And they would go to like karaoke until like 2 a.m. just having fun after playing soccer and all. So I think that's a good way to connect with the local students there.
Thank you so much. Okay, fantastic. If there's any follow-up questions in that realm, please feel free to pop them into the Q&A, but I think we'll switch conversation topics briefly, which is how did you find or arrange your living situation? So some programs, you have select options, some of them you have to go find your housing. So if you could speak for a moment as to your living situation, if you were happy with it, if you have any recommendations for students, please go ahead and get started. Sorry, you were nodding. Do you want to get us started there?
Yes, thank you. Specifically for both programs, they had program arranged housing that UCEAP set up for us. For South Africa, we were paired with a program called CIEE, and for London, we're paired with Accent Global. And those are like our host institutions in the country that you're visiting. So for the UCEAP experience in Cape Town, I was in a program arranged apartment. It was very nice. It was down the street from the University of Cape Town, which is one of the largest universities in the entire continent of Africa. I can say that area is very nice. It's in Rondebosch, Cape Town, and I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room. My roommate, who was from a different university, not within the UC system, had her own room, and then we shared a kitchen and living room area. And then in London, we had program arranged apartments as well. We stayed in central London, and it kind of reminds you of like New York, but just in London. It was about a 5-minute walking distance from where our classes were. And in Cape Town, I was about a 5 to 10 minutes walking distance from where the CIEE Center was. So because I was in an internship-based program in Cape Town, my apartment was only about a 20 minutes Uber, like 15 to 20 minutes Uber from where I was living. And in Cape Town, because the currency benefits the US dollar, Ubers weren't that expensive. I would ride share with 2 other students that were interning at the same program as me. In London, my housing, I stayed in a 2-bedroom as well. And I shared a kitchen area with up to 4 people. So I had my own room, me and my roommate shared, and then they had their own room, another 2 students, we just shared a kitchen, had our own bathrooms. And I was very satisfied with both housings. I can say the one in Cape Town had a gym. It was connected with other students studying at the University of Cape Town, so that was really cool to meet other students who were either native South Africans or in their own study abroad experiences or actually like studying at the University of Cape Town. I got to pick up new languages there by meeting other students. They had a lot of like housing community activities, and it was really great to connect. And in London, I could say the area was really nice, and because it was so cold, I was really grateful for the people who worked in the housing because they were very helpful with like setting up heaters and attending to any of our needs throughout the program.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Does anyone else want to share a little bit? Sorry, my cat was meowing really loudly. So he's joined us. Does anybody want to share a little bit about their housing experience as well? Addie, you've unmuted yourself.
Yeah. Uh, Mine's a little different because I had to find my own housing. So I used Spot Home, which is recommended by UCAP. And I actually got really lucky because I procrastinated a little bit too much finding housing. And got really lucky. The landlady was super nice. She actually was like, if you ever come back to Barcelona, you know who to call. And it was an apartment that had newly been renovated, and it was a 3-room apartment, and it had 1 bathroom. It had a big living room and a kitchen, and I had my own room. It had a lock. That's another thing to, if you're going to Spain, a lot of the, like if you're renting rooms, a lot of the rooms don't have locks. So if you want, you got to find one that specifically says has a lock. And it wasn't that expensive either. It was like 500 euros a month plus 120 in utilities. And it wasn't it was in a good location. The neighborhood was um like 20 minutes away from where I needed to study at the university, and it was like a 20-minute bus ride. Yeah, and local the transportation is very good. So I wouldn't worry if you're farther away.
Thank you so much. Okay, Christy and Lauren, any final thoughts on your housing before we?
I guess, as I mentioned earlier, the school itself had an international students dorm. In the housing, I had my own room, my own bathroom, just shared kitchen, and it was a dorm style, but yet it was still very cheap compared to, I guess, California housing prices, especially in the Bay Area. It was like one-fifth of my rent I paid at Berkeley. So that was nice, but one thing to know that the utilities fee was almost 1 month worth rent there. So you just have to keep in mind that when you go to other places in the world, the utilities fees might differ, especially in hot summer when you have to turn a lot of AC on. So that was a shocker for me. Our school dorm was like the school dorm. So it was like 20 minutes by subway, metro. So that wasn't that bad, but I knew different students who were like going to Waseda or Keio program. Their dorm was like 40 minutes away from the school itself. So I guess that if you're planning on going to Japan, that might be something to consider, looking into housing, the dorm situations for each program before you leave.
Thank you so much. And Christy.
Yeah. At Yonsei University, I stayed on the on-campus dorm. So I actually just walked down to campus every day. But the caveat was that you have to it's kind of a lottery system to get the dorms. So I actually ended up not getting a dorm because there was something wrong with my application. And then later on they offered me housing, but it was like cutting it close. I was having to find housing on my own. But the two dorms are the dorm that I stayed in was all like female dormitory or and so we were all sharing a bathroom. So the whole entire floor shared a bathroom and a shower like room. So that was an experience. And then I know people in the other building that was more of a co-ed dormitory.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you all so much. That was really informative. Our next question is, how many hours did you spend studying for class each week? This will vary so much between program and between majors, so a broad answer might be great. Lauren, you had a big nod on that one, so do you want to get us started there?
Yeah, sure. One thing to note, I do believe and think that UC systems are very rigorous and very academically challenging programs so I think compares to the average UC workload, I do think the program I went to in Japan was a lot less. It was still locally renowned university, like the top two program for the humanities program all over Japan. It was a very famous school. Yet compares to the the studies that I did in Berkeley, it was a little bit less of a work, but that is also because I didn't take any language classes. I knew some of my friends who did, they had to go to class every day and their exams were a bit more rigorous. But I do want to emphasize, you still do need to pay attention in class and participate a lot, do your homework on time, but I want you to emphasize more on, not more, but equally on experiencing your life there in a foreign country rather than just staying in the library all the time. And the local Japanese students and even the professors were very helpful in helping us like with materials if we had any questions, they were always there for us. So I think utilizing the local resources will be very helpful to balance that studying time.
Who wants to speak on this matter next?
I guess I can. Yeah, like Lauren was saying, coming from a UC, you do a lot of studying, you do a lot of work. At the University of Barcelona, that was a lot different. Um, we would go to class, I think like for an hour and a half, and then you didn't really get homework. You just got an exam like midway and then another exam for your final, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, for my program in London, I can say, okay, so we took 3 different classes. Depending on the classes you take and you select, will determine how much time you'll be studying. Some of the classes that I took, 2 were upper division, 1 was lower division. It turns out that the lower division course gave us the most homework. which reminded me of like UC system classes. The other two upper division were a bit more like lighter paced. They more so specifically focused on site visits, reflections, and big projects. Those projects you have to complete once a week. So it's kind of similar to like completing a quiz in a class at UCSD. And I probably spent on average 5-ish hours based on each class, but it depends on what we're completing. I highly recommend, let's say if you're planning weekend trips, if you have a 3-month program, complete everything before the trip so you don't have to bring your laptop. And I can say, yeah, just like Addie was mentioning, like you do want to experience where you're going to be at. So just budget your time the same way you would do within the UC system.
For me, because I was enrolled in actual classes that the students were, that Yonsei University students were enrolled in, I had midterms, I had finals week, and so I think it was not as chill for me. But besides the class that I took with actual Yonsei University students, the courses I took that was catered just for foreign exchange students were very fun and a lot more cultural. So I learned more about the culture, and naturally those classes for me didn't have as much work to do. It was more so like group projects, going to different places in Korea and getting experience coming back to the class and presenting. So I had a lot of group presentation assignments for my foreign exchange classes. Yeah, and besides that, I think I dedicated around similar, like 5 to 7 hours a week for class assignments. And I did try my best to not make it my first and foremost priority being in Korea, because there was a lot I wanted to explore. So it was just like time management, trying to get classes and get my homework done so that in the morning so I could do things in the latter half of the day.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're coming near the end of our session time, and I want to make sure we get to all of our questions. Our next question is, how do you all pay for groceries or food? Did you eat out a lot? Did you cook a lot? And are there programs like CalFresh that you can apply for abroad? I don't know if any of you encountered any kind of support in that regard, but if you know of any programs like that, that could be interesting. But how did you go about financially supporting yourself while abroad?
I guess
I
I
could
can start. Oh, um, I did go to the, it was actually really convenient. My apartment was like a block away from the grocery store. So I did go to the grocery store and I would buy around like 40 euros of things for like a week and a half. And I don't know about any programs, but I would also I would also like go eat out a lot because the food was amazing over there, and that's something that I wanted to experience. So that that's something I did spend my money on a lot. So I mostly used financial aid and scholarship money that I had gained over the years that I had saved up. And also my parents would send me euros every like month and a half. So I would just budget that out.
Thank you. Excellent. Anyone else have any thoughts on this question?
I also ate out most of the time, but I think cost of living in Korea is very different to the US and just like other parts of Europe. You can get food for less than $5, or less than $5 to $10 pretty easily. If you go to convenience stores, you can get a roll of kimbap or something for like $2 to have for lunch. I also ate a lot at my school's cafeteria, which was also very budget friendly. You can get a lunch meal for like $2, $3, or maybe more on the upward ends of $3 to $4 now. So it was like a lot of small dollars that kind of built up for me, but eating out was not like $10, $15 like it is back at home, or now like $20 to $30 for a meal out. So I think eating out was quickest and it was also cheap. You could cook at home, but our dorms didn't have any sort of like pans or anything, so you had to buy that. And I didn't want to buy any like cooking utensils just for the semester that I was abroad. So I just opted to eat my meals out.
Thank you so much. Lauren.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Christie's comment, I think Japan and Korea and those areas are very similar with the exchange rate with the USD, and just the average living cost was way cheaper as well. So I think for me, I was like a 60-40, like I ate out 60% or just bought something real quick at the convenience store. Our cafeteria was also really cheap. As she mentioned, it was also like $3, $4 for a whole meal with even side dishes as well. So that was really beneficial. And the groceries were, I think, actually the grocery costs weren't as cheap. So I think sometimes as just a single household, eating out tended to be cheaper as well. I just like to cook, so I cooked here and there. But some tips on like saving money. The UCAP program, I know like all financial aid transfers over. So if you have that in mind, like maybe some grants and all scholarships can help. And I continue to do my like tutoring job on via Zoom. So that also helped me like have some spending money throughout the program. And I also had a chance to like translate for a grad student lecture, which also gave me a lot of spending money during the program like there. So if you just have like good relationship with like your program manager or like your professors there, there's also ways even as a foreigner to earn money if you need some extra dollars here and there. So
Yeah. In Cape Town, the cost of living is a lot cheaper than the United States, kind of similar to how they're explaining for Japan and Korea. So I calculated prior to coming, I understood like enough about 1 USD translating to their currency of rands, which is about like 18, 19 rands there. It didn't cost too much for groceries and eating out, but within the 3 months that we had, I made sure to like keep a journal to track all of my expenses. And I found that I was able to retain a lot more money towards the end of my programs on both programs by doing that versus just like spending and swiping, because it's really easy to just tap and keep going. But at the end of each week, whether on a Friday or Saturday, I'll like sit down, look at all my recent transactions, and then I'll keep a list of like, okay, groceries, entertainment, food, and then like anything extra, like personal shopping or anything. And then I'll be able to track like, okay, you're actually spending a lot more on entertainment and personal items versus food, which is more of a necessity. So I was able to like move forward with a specific number in mind for what I wanted to spend in Cape Town. And eating out in big groups helped a lot because we were able to like share big plates and still get really full on like 5, 6 course meals. In Cape Town, they have a lot of different restaurants and it's very diverse. You can eat any style food that you want, any cuisine from any culture. And I probably cooked more than I ate out there. In London, it's completely different. The cost of living is a lot more expensive than the United States. So I was humbled within the first 2 weeks. And I knew that I didn't want to spend more money in London than I'd be spending in other parts of the world because I know it's really easy to travel. So while in London, sorry, I was able to travel to Morocco, Italy, Scotland, and I went to Barcelona. So as you were explaining Spain, it was so beautiful. But I probably saved a lot more because I was traveling with the other students in my cohort, but we tracked pretty much everything, like how much it costs for hotels, what we stay in a hotel or what we stay in a hostel. Um, when it came to like walking or Ubering or taking the tube, we were given a free Oyster card that I still keep as a memory, but we were able to travel all throughout London. It's easily accessible through bus and tube. So I was able to save a lot of my costs that would have probably gone to Uber, like it did in Cape Town. In terms of groceries, groceries in London are kind of similar to if you're just shopping at Whole Foods. So I'd say I would only grocery shop, and I'd grocery shop with my roommate. We'd share a lot of food together. But yeah, I'd only grocery shop like once a week or every few weeks, depending on what I specifically needed, not wanted. And in terms of eating out, I was definitely open to trying really good restaurants out there, but it wasn't as often. I'd probably eat out like once every other week if I needed to, or I'd like have the mentality of like, do you want a really good meal in London or do you want a really great experience in Spain? So yes, that was my experience with budgeting. And I also recommend if you're bringing a card and not cash, or you could bring both. I know in Cape Town, I needed cash in certain places, and then they also accepted card. I highly recommend wherever you're going in any part of the world to have a card that doesn't charge international fees as well.
That's a great point. That was really helpful advice from everyone. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that. It's fascinating to hear that eating out, living in Goleta, is cheaper than cooking at home. So thank you all so much. We do have stacked sessions for the study abroad first, so I want to make sure we do end on time. But I thought I'd kick a question over to my colleagues here, which is, we're all several years out of our programs now. How do you feel your time abroad on UCEAP impacted your career? Obviously, you are here working for UCEAP, but what skills do you feel you gained and have continued to grow in through your experiences abroad that you now see still coming to help you in your daily life, maybe 10, even 20 years later?
Yeah, maybe I'll get started. Um, Really good question. I think for me in particular, I was on a research program, and my major within the sciences was very research heavy. And so I came out of the program with a lot of really specific skills like in Excel and writing research reports and things like that. Um, but those skills actually translated into my work at UCEAP and other jobs that I've had, with just having that ability and mentality to research, even though it's not, within the biological sciences. So that's kind of one piece. And then the other piece is just the adaptability, being able to travel abroad and interact with all different sorts of people. The open-mindedness, things like that have all transferred over and been very helpful in my career. Elizabeth?
Thanks. I completely echo what Katie said. I would also add too that one of the things I think from the moment I finished studying abroad, I knew it was amazing, and I really it continued to have an impact on me even after my study abroad program finished. So much so that I completed a master's degree abroad, and constantly searched for ways to get back abroad after studying abroad. I think one of the just ways in which it really impacted my life after studying abroad was that I intentionally searched for career opportunities that really fueled my passion or provided just something exciting. I've done some fun kind of jobs and careers, and I think something that really I learned from studying abroad was just that there is a lot to see in the world, and so there's just a lot of ways that you can tap into your creative side or into the things that bring you passion. Even if you're working a more traditional job, like there's just different ways you can really, make your life feel more fulfilling. And so that was something I really appreciated from my study abroad experience was just looking at the world differently. And I think in that same lens, thinking critically and thinking independently is also something that I learned from studying abroad, is because I think there's, especially in these times, there's a lot of information and things just thrown at you and trying to persuade you of things. And I think something that I learned from studying abroad is just that there are different viewpoints and there are different perceptions, and to question them and to really be intuitive and listen to, you know, your own kind of beliefs and things. And so those are two things that really stuck with me after studying abroad, and that I think I still bring with me in terms of my career and things like that.
Thank you both so much. It's great to hear some perspectives from someone who's a bit further out from our programs, and to see all of our panelists who are just recently returning from their programs and yet to graduate in many cases. So we got a thank you in our chat here from one of our student participants, and I want to reiterate that thank you to you all. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us today, for answering all of our questions, and for taking time across, you know, the broader planet. We're all kind of in different locations, just very sweet. And Katie, do you want to wrap us up by going over these resources with our students?
Sure. So here on the screen, we have some helpful resources. So you're welcome to visit the UCEAP YouTube channel to access our catalog of videos. We're also offering an Exploring Your Identity Abroad series with webinars throughout the year, and this is in collaboration with the UC Campus Study Abroad offices. Lastly, there's a link to access contact information for UCEAP program teams and Campus Study Abroad offices if you have any further questions. And I think there's one more slide. So thank you all for joining and for your great questions. We hope this presentation provided you with a starting point on your journey, or maybe answered some questions if you're further along. We encourage you to explore the UCEAP website for detailed information about UCEAP and our program options. You should visit your Campus Study Abroad office or their website, or the How to Apply section on any program page on the UCEAP website for information on application steps and deadlines. Contact information for campus offices is available on the QR code on the slide. We also offer virtual advising, where you can schedule an appointment to have an online call with a UCEAP advisor to talk about your programs in more detail. You'll find the link to make an appointment through the QR code on the slide. Once you've determined which program you're going to apply to, you can start an application by selecting the Apply Now button on the UCEAP website. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Our general email is on the slide. And that's all that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was so nice to meet you all and put a face to some of the names and to see several attendees again. So thank you so much, and we will wish you the best of luck in your coming months and your graduations. All righty. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.